Good Thursday afternoon, and thank you for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. Just in this afternoon, Senator Amy Klobuchar speaking out on the Senate floor. She's pushing for tougher gun laws in the wake of last week's mass shooting at Annunciation Church, saying it has rattled the community here to its core.
You can't hide from this, as much as you want to shield your kids from these kinds of stories. But when they're 6-year-olds that are in the mass shooting, that are in the church, who are the neighbors and friends of the kids in the other houses, every parent had to tell their kids about it. These people of faith, these neighbors, they've all been incredibly strong. And even on this horrific day, I saw hours after the shooting, neighbors sitting out on their lawn chairs with food for each other, neighbors hugging people they knew and hugging perfect strangers.
Her speech comes just 24 hours after Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife visited Minneapolis and the Annunciation Memorial, meeting with victims and their families. In the wake of the vice president's visit to Minneapolis, some of the families of the victims say they do appreciate the visit, but they have strong message for J.D. Vance. The parents of Lydia Kaiser, who was shot protecting another student, are calling for the vice president to take action on gun violence. Raya Katene tells us more.
A future filled with hope are the words sprawled across Leah Kaiser's Annunciation Catholic School t-shirt.
I've given a lot of thought about speaking publicly, and I've decided I have something to say.
Standing together at the hospital in which their daughter is still recovering, Leah and Harry Kaiser say they feel an obligation to push for change.
All of us, moms, teachers, you reporters, and vice presidents, we all have an obligation to use this moment.
It's a moment no parent wants to be a part of. Exactly 1 week ago, their daughter Lydia was hurt in the Annunciation shooting while protecting another student. Since then, an online fundraiser for the family says Lydia has undergone an unimaginable surgery and that her story parallels the other injured students in the community.
As Principal DeBoer said when he quoted an African proverb, "When you pray, move your feet." Vice President Vance, you have enormous authority. Please use this moment to move your feet.
The Kaisers' public statements follow their meeting with Vice President J.D. Vance, who arrived in Minneapolis Wednesday morning to pay his respects and meet with the victims' families.
I would just say take the concerns of these parents seriously. I think all of us, Democrat, Republican, and Independent, want these school shootings to happen less frequently. Hopefully there's some steps that we can take to make that happen.
Lydia's dad, Harry, is also a gym teacher at Annunciation and was there during the shooting. He says he wrote and read this note to the vice president to make his family, church, and other victims' families proud.
Thoughts and prayers haven't been enough. Many policies have been dismissed without even being studied or tried. It's so complicated. I don't claim to have the answers, but we have to commit to looking. Then we can feel good about defending life. If one thing changes for the better, perhaps Fletcher's and Harper's deaths and all the injuries and destruction might bring about even more unity, love, and light than I have already seen this past week. One law, one executive order, one policy. You can call it the Annunciation Bill. Then I'll be able to look Lydia and Sophia and all my students in the eye and say I tried.
Trying to enact change and calling on the most powerful as these parents now work to build a future filled with hope for Lydia and all children.
Right now, the Annunciation community is preparing for another difficult day. One last goodbye to the boy killed in the church shooting. The funeral for 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel will be held on Sunday at Mount Olivet Church in South Minneapolis. Visitation will start at 2 p.m. His funeral will start at 4. Fletcher's family is asking people to come in bright colors and to give to the family's fundraiser, in lieu of flowers. The service is open to the public. A day after the shooting, Fletcher's dad, Jesse Merkel, asked the community to remember his son for the person he was and not the senseless act that ended his life.
Fletcher loved his family, friends, fishing, cooking, and any sport that he was allowed to play. While the hole in our hearts and lives will never be filled, I hope that in time our family can find healing
Funeral plans for the other victim, 10-year-old Harper Moisky, have not been publicly announced. The family says their beloved Harper touched everyone who knew her, and her laughter and kindness will be forever missed.
Kent Erdahl here with breaking news. The NTSB and emergency crews are on scene of a plane crash near the Cambridge Municipal Airport. That's about an hour north of the Twin Cities. Sky 11 capturing this video from the scene where you can see what's left of the plane strewn across a field. An emergency vehicle nearby along with people near that wreckage. Now, this field is located just across the street from the airport in Cambridge. We've reached out to the Isanti County Sheriff's Office and Cambridge Police for any updates. Stick with KARE 11 Plus for the latest on this plane crash.
New this afternoon, 2 people are dead and a child is in the hospital after a carjacked vehicle slammed into their vehicle this morning. That crash happening on Highway 55 and Penn Avenue. Minneapolis police say it all started in South Minneapolis when a man crashed an SUV after driving erratically on Lake Street. After the crash, the suspect carjacked another vehicle. That's the picture you are seeing here. That carjacked vehicle was later spotted in North Minneapolis and took off when police tried to stop him. The suspect then slammed into a vehicle at Penn and 55, killing 2 people and sending a child to the hospital. That child is expected to be okay. The suspect is also in the hospital with minor injuries.
This is a very devastating incident with very heartbreaking consequences for completely innocent people. Our officers worked very quickly, as best they could, in an attempt to get a very violent and dangerous criminal off the street before anyone else could be harmed. This is an outcome that we never want, as 2 innocent lives have been taken from us because of one person's violent and reckless behaviors.
The 2 crashes and the police pursuit are under investigation by Minneapolis police. New today, Brian Hooper Sr. is a free man. He's being let out of the Stillwater prison after spending 27 years behind bars for a crime he did not commit. Hooper was convicted of murdering Ann Prasniak in South Minneapolis back in 1998. The murder grabbed headlines because she was a beloved neighbor known as Miss Ann. But in a confession letter, the state's star witness in that trial, Shalaka Lewis-Young, recanted her testimony and admitted to killing Miss Prasniak and hiding her body. We do have a team on this story today. Stick with KARE 11 News at 4, 5, and 6 for the latest on his release. Developing today, charges are expected to come down for the man accused of poisoning and killing his roommate, 33-year-old Cody Ernst. St. Cloud police say they were called to the hospital in late June when doctors found an extremely high level of thallium in Cody's system. He died 2 days later. Authorities say the arrest comes after an investigation involving several state agencies and the FBI. In the last 24 hours, we learned that the owners of a local contracting company are facing felony charges. A multi-agency investigation revealed that the contractor for a St. Paul public housing project allegedly underpaid their employees. Last year, Bay Vista Incorporated was contracted for a roof and gutter project at the McDonough homes. According to the criminal complaint, Bay Vista owners paid their workers in cash off the books at a much lower wage than required by the St. Paul Public Housing Authority contract. They are accused of pocketing $200,000. Lou Raguse has been following the case and has the latest developments.
Work on the roofs and gutters at the McDonough homes in St. Paul continues with a new crew. After the subcontractors originally hired for the job are charged with wage theft, insurance fraud, and tax fraud.
What was happening on these job sites is that basically workers were being paid cash under the table.
According to court papers, the 3 owners of Bay Vista Inc., Jose, Carrie, and Joseph Herrera, paid their workers between $120 to $200 per day. But the contract from the St. Paul Housing Authority stipulated what each worker needed to make.
We know for a fact that the contractor and the subcontractor knew very clearly that the rate of pay for the roofing should have been $68.54.
Ramsey County Attorney John Choi says the Bay Vista owners pocketed more than $200,000 that was supposed to be paid to their workers. St. Paul Police Chief Axel Henry says the charges are important.
If we charge these cases now, we address these crimes now, future businesses will never go down these paths themselves. They will never not cooperate with the process and not advocate for the individual and not do what's right out there.
Wage theft cases like these are known to be time-consuming and difficult. Choi acknowledges tracking and investigating this one was made somewhat easier because it was a publicly funded contract. McDonough Homes is a public housing project.
I hope to be able to return the lost wages, the stolen wages to these workers. That's going to be the highlight.
Right now, the 3 suspects are not in custody, but they are scheduled to appear in court on October 2nd. Happening today, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is testifying before the Senate Finance Committee. This comes amidst the controversy over his policies and the departure of some key CDC officials. In the last 24 hours, more than 1,000 former and current HHS employees have signed a 6-page letter calling for Kennedy to resign. They say he is endangering the nation's health by firing top CDC leaders and spreading inaccurate information about vaccines. During the hearing, JFK Jr. said, quote, "We have been the busiest, most proactive administration in HHS history."
Under President Trump's leadership, we at HHS are enacting a once-in-a-generation shift from a sick care system to a true health care system that tackles the root causes of chronic disease. Chronic disease has reached crisis proportions in our country. And finally, we have an administration that is taking action.
RFK Jr. is in the process of transforming the ways people get vaccines, recommending more limited access to COVID shots this fall, and overhauling the powerful panel that recommends which vaccines Americans should take. Medical experts are raising concerns, with some states saying they will coordinate their vaccine recommendations separate from the federal government. Well, today brings some sad news in the fashion world. The legendary designer Giorgio Armani has died at the age of 91. In a statement, the Armani Group said he passed away peacefully while surrounded by his loved ones. This June, Armani did not attend his own runway event in Milan for the first time in his career. His company said that the designer was recovering at home but did not elaborate on his medical condition. The Giorgio Armani brand was created in 1975 and quickly rose to success globally, with celebrities often choosing Armani for their red carpet fits. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.